The Gina and Maddie Podcast.
The last 48 hours have kind of been pretty heavy. Everyone across the state and the country with the scenes out of Bondi Junction on Saturday afternoon, and then I guess the non-stop coverage, which people are looking for answers, want to know what happened, want to know how people are coping in hospitals and see what the news is. And there's no better person, I think, to talk to than our next guest when it comes to talking to kids about stuff. Parenting's a weird one, isn't it?
There's no manual.
There's no. Well, I remember when my firstborn Billy was born, and we got this blue book in the hospital, and I was like, okay, how to parent is what it's going to be. And no, it's just for doctor's appointments.
That's right.
So where are the instructions? No, you're on your own. But you aren't on your own if you follow Connected Parenting AU. Jen Muir is one of the best. She has a book out called Little People, Big Feelings, has a podcast called Beyond the Chaos Podcast, and some great videos there. The one the other day she put up was when your kids scream at you in anger, and I was like, that is my 5-year-old to a T every day. And it's just ways to deal with being a parent, because you don't know. And then the news cycle that has been, you turn on a telly, turn on a radio, we are hearing all about what happened in Bondi over the weekend. So I thought, I struggle to process it. It's affected me. I've worked in newsrooms. I've been a news producer. I've been around a lot of horrific news. This one's rattled me, and I've got a fully formed brain, kind of. Yeah. And the kids, how do you talk to kids about it? So I thought we'd chat to Jen. Morning, Jen.
Hello, thanks for having me on. And yeah, I agree. I think we're all feeling really flawed. It feels really close to home, this one.
Jen, firstly, we, depending on the age of the kids, do we shelter them from this kind of news, or is this something that we should be talking to them about, in your opinion?
Yeah, look, yes and no. In that, I would shelter kids from, we saw the images of that dad who covered his kids' eyes with eye masks to get them out of Westfield. And it's just so quick thinking and incredible that he did that. But really what we can do at home is shield them from unnecessary images in the news. If our kids are older and they have access to social media, I'd be really sort of clamping down on that over the next couple of days. And what that ensures is that we do want to have a conversation with our kids, but we want it to come from us. And we don't want them seeing unnecessary images, particularly for little kids, that they just can't unsee. And sometimes for little kids, they can't process fact from fiction. So we do want to tell them what happened. We just don't want it to come from sources that they can't manage.
Can I also just say, Jen, you're not, and this is no diss to anyone else either, but you're not just like a TikTok expert. This is something, grief and bereavement is something that you've studied a lot on.
Look, I am a social worker, and I'm also a grief and bereavement counsellor. So, it is something that we need to be aware of when, and unfortunately these things do happen in the world. We know that there's events often all around the world we need to talk to our kids about. For this one, it's really hard. And I think the thing for parents to keep in mind is it makes sense if you feel rattled, and if you need to take a moment to centre yourself before you think, what do I want to tell my kids and how do I want to tell them? That makes complete sense to take some time to centre ourselves first, like you say. Like I think I spent a bit of time yesterday thinking, what do I want to tell my two little kids who are 7 and 9 versus what am I going to tell my 13-year-old and 15-year-old? Quite different messages, but I do want to be at the front foot of that, because I think what we're trying to do is, listen, no matter whether we tell our kids and we shield our kids from the news, kids pick up what's in the public's conscious. I think what we're thinking and feeling, they pick up from their parents. They're also likely to find out from friends. So we do want to get in there and have a conversation. And it's about scaling that down or up depending on their age. So for preschoolers, we're saying very little. We're going to really limit what we're saying, but we are going to let them know something happened and we're feeling sad about it, that a policewoman stopped the person and doctors are working really hard to make everyone better. We'd be really simple with our little kids. Yeah. And then for older kids, knowing that they're probably going to hear something more detailed from friends, we probably want to be quite factual and straight to the point. My biggest advice when we tell kids heavy things or hard things, whether that is that someone's died or something scary has happened, is that we actually allow a little bit of space. Often in the moment, our kids will say, okay, thanks. And you think, oh, they're totally fine. And then what we see is through behaviour, they show us they are having emotions about it later. So it might be that later your child, I had a friend who told her 13-year-old girl on the weekend, told her beautifully, factually, the daughter said, okay, fine. And then she said that whole afternoon she was being horrific, not hitting her sister, but picking on her sister, complaining about everything, really grumpy. And this mum had the sense to kind of go off and say, I can see you're kind of not feeling great, and I'm wondering, and that concept of wonder that was used, I'm wondering if you're still thinking about what we spoke about earlier. And her daughter just broke down and said, yeah, I'm so worried that we're not safe. So kids will want us to first and foremost reassure them that they are safe. And that's their immediate need, that they are safe, that there's no longer a threat, that the policewoman stopped that man and they are now safe. It's kind of the core thing that all kids, whether they're little kids or teens, do need to know.
And Jen, with still like older kids, you're saying your 13-year-olds and stuff, one of the rites of passage is you can drop your kids to the shops, and that's one of the things that makes them feel adult, and now, what do you say to those kids who've seen that? And my child is older. Mine's not a child anymore, and I still worry about him.
He'll always be your child.
He'll always be my little boy. He's 21. But, they've just started to go to the shops on their own. The fear they must be feeling, and do we have to have those conversations with them to say, look, this has happened. What's our plan of action if that should happen at another shopping centre?
Do you know one of the best ways I would say to start a conversation with kids, whether they're 5 or 15, I would say to them, what have you already heard, and is there anything you're already wondering? If we can start with that sense of where they're at, some kids will immediately say, I want to know, should I not go to the shops anymore? And what we need to, what we can then do is talk about, the history of in Australia that we, the changes we made where we removed guns, that it is a relatively safe country and these things are really rare. We are able to reassure them, but what we want to start is always by listening and understanding where they're at first. Because if we just jump to, you might be wondering this and they're thinking, I wasn't thinking that at all.
Yeah.
So always starting with that, what have you heard? What are you wondering? Is such a great place to start. And then we're able to give them the facts, and then from there we can reassure them.
Jen, thank you so much for your time this morning. I know it's been a heavy couple of days, and I'm sure your head's spinning as well. And your phone's probably going to be ringing off the hook today because of how fantastic you are. For more information, connectedparenting.com.au. No, I mean it, Jen. The way you can.
Oh no, I really appreciate it. It's so kind of you.
Yeah, no, it's kind of you to give us your time as well this morning. Connectedparenting.com.au or Connected Parenting AU on Instagram, and Behind the Chaos podcast as well with Jen. Thanks so much for your time, Jen.
Thanks so much.
The Gina and Maddie Podcast.
For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcast.com.au.